You weren't created to live life constantly pleasing people, walking on eggshells, afraid to disappoint someone. You have a calling, a purpose, something God placed in you that's too valuable to waste on people who don't respect it. Some of you have spent years saying yes when you wanted to say no. You've bent over backward for people who wouldn't take one step for you. You've let others guilt trip you, take advantage of your kindness, and make you feel like setting boundaries is wrong. But let me tell you, being nice is a great thing, but being too nice can hold you back. God didn't put you here to be walked over. He put you here to stand tall, be bold, and walk in confidence. When you keep saying yes to things you don't want, you're actually saying no to what God has for you. This is the year to break free. In 2025, you're not apologizing for setting boundaries. You're not explaining yourself to people who don't value you. You're not letting guilt keep you trapped in relationships that drain you. When you start respecting yourself, the right people will respect you too. When you stop being too nice to the wrong people, you'll start seeing the right people show up. Get ready. This is your time to step into the bold, confident, unstoppable version of yourself. You've been nice long enough. It's time to be strong. It's good to be a kind and generous person. We're taught to help others, to show compassion, to be patient, and to treat people with respect. And that's the right way to live. When you're kind, you reflect love and you create an atmosphere of peace around you. People appreciate you, they look up to you, and they know they can count on you. But there comes a point when kindness turns into something that holds you back. But when you're always putting others before yourself, when you're constantly giving and never receiving, when you're afraid to disappoint people, you can end up feeling drained, unappreciated, and even resentful. Some people don't see kindness as a good thing. They see it as an opportunity. They know that if they push hard enough, you won't push back. If they keep asking, you won't say no. If they take from you, you won't complain. Over time, this can create a pattern where you're constantly bending over backward for people who wouldn't even take a step for you. You find yourself in situations where you're always the one making sacrifices, always the one going the extra mile, always the one adjusting your schedule, your priorities, and your needs to make others comfortable. At first, you might not even notice it. You tell yourself that it's just who you are, that you're just trying to be a good person. You don't want to let anyone down. You don't want people to think you're selfish. But the longer this goes on, the more you realize that something isn't right. You're exhausted. You feel stretched thin. You start to see that the people you're always saying yes to don't have the same consideration for you. They don't check in on you. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't even notice when you're struggling because they've become so used to you always being there, always giving, always saying yes. It's not that they're bad people. Some of them don't even realize they're doing it. But if you don't set boundaries, people will keep taking. If you don't speak up for yourself, people will keep assuming you're okay. If you don't start prioritizing your own well-being, nobody else will. It's not their job to make sure you don't get burned out. It's yours. You weren't created to spend your life constantly meeting everyone else's expectations while ignoring your own needs. You have dreams, you have goals, you have a purpose. But if you're always caught up in doing what makes others happy, you might never step into what truly makes you happy. You might never take the opportunities that are meant for you because you're too busy trying to please people who don't even appreciate it. There's nothing wrong with being kind. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help. But there's a difference between helping and being used. There's a difference between being supportive and being taken for granted. And sometimes the only way to break free from that cycle is to make a decision that you're going to start valuing yourself the way you value others. This means recognizing when someone is only around for what they can get from you. It means understanding that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time and energy. It means being okay with people being disappointed because you chose to take care of yourself instead of meeting their every demand. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. You're used to saying yes. You're used to being the person everyone counts on. You're used to putting yourself last. But if you keep doing that, you're going to find yourself in a place where you're emotionally drained, physically exhausted, and spiritually empty. And the truth is, you can't pour into others when your own cup is empty. The people who truly care about you will understand. They'll respect your boundaries. They'll support your growth. And the people who get upset, who try to guilt you, who make you feel bad for putting yourself first, those are the ones who were never really in your corner to begin with. When you stop allowing people to take advantage of your kindness, you'll start to see who really values you. You'll notice who reaches out to you when they don't need anything. You'll recognize who is genuinely there for you and who was only there because it was convenient for them. And most importantly, you'll start feeling lighter, freer, and more at peace because you're no longer carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations on your shoulders. You deserve to be treated with the same love and respect that you give to others. You deserve to have relationships that are built on mutual care, not just one-sided effort. You deserve to be in an environment where you're appreciated, not just tolerated. And the moment you decide that you're not going to be a doormat, that you're not going to let people take advantage of your kindness, that you're going to start prioritizing your own happiness, that's when everything starts to change. It's not about being rude. It's not about being selfish. It's about understanding that you have value, that your time is precious, and that your kindness is a gift, not something that should be taken for granted. So in 2025, make the choice to stand up for yourself. Make the choice to walk in confidence. Make the choice to protect your peace, your energy, and your well-being. When you do, you'll find that you're not just living for others, you're finally living for yourself. There are moments in life when we have to take a step back and evaluate the people we allow into our space. Too often we think that just because someone has been around for a long time, they deserve to stay. We assume that because we love them, they must have a right to be in our lives. But the truth is, not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. Not everyone should have the privilege of knowing your thoughts, your dreams, your struggles, or your victories. There are people who only want to be connected to you because of what you can do for them. They enjoy the benefits of being close to you, but they don't necessarily value or respect who you are when you are naturally a giving person. It's easy to fall into the trap of making yourself available to everyone. You answer every phone call, respond to every request, show up whenever someone needs you, and sacrifice your own time and peace to make others happy. But in doing that, you might not realize that you are giving access to people who don't truly appreciate it. Some individuals will only come around when they need something. They don't check on you when you're struggling. They don't support you when you're down. They don't celebrate you when you win. They just take and take, expecting you to always be there. It's important to recognize when someone's presence in your life is draining rather than uplifting. Not everyone who claps for you wants to see you succeed. Not everyone who smiles in your face has good intentions. Some people only want to stay connected to you because it benefits them. They might not mean harm, but the relationship with you is transactional. They are there as long as they can gain something from you. And when the benefits stop, so does their loyalty. You have to be selective about who you let in. Your time is valuable. Your energy is precious. Your heart is not something to be handed out freely to people who don't know how to handle it. There comes a point where you have to protect yourself from those who take you for granted. This doesn't mean you stop being a kind person. It doesn't mean you stop being generous or compassionate. It simply means you start being wise. There are some people who, no matter how much you do for them, will never truly respect you. They will take what they can get, but they will never reciprocate. They will expect you to be there at a moment's notice, but when you need something, they are nowhere to be found. These are the people who drain you emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even financially. And the longer you allow them to have access to you, the more they will take advantage of your kindness. You don't have to keep everyone close. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to be available to people who only show up when they need something. It's okay to create distance. It's okay to remove yourself from relationships that are one-sided. It's okay to say, I love you, but I can't allow you to drain me anymore. When you start limiting access, some people will get upset. They will accuse you of changing. They will say you're acting differently. But the truth is, you're not changing, you're growing. You're learning to value yourself enough to stop allowing people to treat you any kind of way. And those who truly care about you will understand that. The ones who get angry are the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries. You have to remember that your peace is worth protecting. Your mind is worth guarding. Your heart is worth cherishing. You are not obligated to let everyone into your personal space. Not everyone deserves to know your plans, your struggles, your blessings, or your pain. Some people will only use that information against you. Some people will pretend to support you, but secretly hope you fail. And some people are only around because they see you as a source of convenience, not as someone they genuinely value. When you start being intentional about who you give access to, your life will begin to change. You will have more energy because you're no longer pouring into people who don't pour back into you. You will feel lighter because you're not carrying the weight of other people's problems that they never intended to fix. You will experience more peace because your circle will be filled with people who uplift and support you rather than those who drain and discourage you. It's not about being cold-hearted. It's not about cutting people off just for the sake of it. It's about making sure that the relationships you invest in are healthy and mutual. It's about making sure that the people you give your time to are the ones who genuinely care about you, not just what you can do for them. It's about recognizing that you deserve to have people in your life who value you for who you are, not just for what you provide. Some people will say, you've changed, and you can respond, yes, I have. Because growth requires change. Maturity requires wisdom. And living a life of peace requires you to be mindful of who you allow in your space. The moment you stop giving unlimited access to the wrong people, you create room for the right people to come into your life. You create space for relationships that are built on mutual respect, love, and support. You open the door for people who will pour into you just as much as you pour into them. And most importantly, you begin to walk in the freedom of knowing that your kindness is valuable and not everyone deserves to have a piece of it. So as you move forward, be intentional about who you give your time, your energy, and your heart to. Not everyone deserves access. And when you realize that, you'll start living with a greater sense of peace, purpose, and power. There comes a time in life when you have to stop allowing yourself to be silenced. Too many people go through life holding back their true thoughts, suppressing their feelings, and ignoring their instincts just to avoid conflict. They think that if they speak up, they might upset someone. If they express their needs, they might be seen as difficult. If they voice their opinions, they might be judged. And so instead of standing their ground, they shrink themselves. Instead of saying what they really think, they say what they believe others want to hear. Instead of standing firm in their beliefs, they allow themselves to be swayed by the opinions of others. This way of living might bring temporary peace, but over time it leads to frustration, resentment, and even regret. When you constantly suppress your voice, you start to feel unheard and unimportant. You start to question whether your opinions matter. You start to lose confidence in yourself because you've been conditioned to believe that your feelings are secondary to keeping the peace. But the truth is, your voice matters. Your thoughts matter. Your presence in this world is not accidental, and you are not created to blend in, go unnoticed, or allow others to dictate how you should feel or think. There are people who will take advantage of your silence. They will assume that because you don't speak up, you're okay with being treated any kind of way. They will believe that because you don't push back, they have the right to control your decisions. And the longer you allow this to happen, the harder it becomes to break free from that cycle. When you don't stand your ground, you invite people to walk all over you. When you don't express your needs, people will assume you don't have any. When you constantly compromise your values to keep others happy, you lose a piece of yourself in the process. And before you know it, you're living a life that doesn't even feel like your own. You're saying yes when you really want to say no. You're agreeing to things that go against what you truly believe. You're allowing yourself to be influenced by people who don't have your best interests at heart. You weren't put on this earth to be controlled by others. You weren't meant to live in fear of what people might think if you choose to stand in your truth. You have a voice for a reason. You have instincts for a reason. You have been given the ability to discern, to recognize when something isn't right, and to make decisions that align with what is best for you. And if you keep ignoring that, if you keep letting others dictate how you live, you will never step into the fullness of what is meant for you. Speaking up doesn't mean being aggressive or confrontational. It doesn't mean you have to be rude or disrespectful. It simply means you stop allowing fear to silence you. It means that when something is wrong, you call it out. When something doesn't feel right, you acknowledge it. When someone is treating you unfairly, you address it. It means having the courage to be honest, even when honesty is uncomfortable. It means standing firm in your values, even when it would be easier to go along with the crowd. It means refusing to allow people to diminish your worth just because they are uncomfortable with your confidence. Some people won't like it when you start standing your ground. They won't be happy when they realize they can no longer manipulate you, guilt you, or pressure you into doing what they want. They may try to make you feel like you're being unreasonable, like you're being difficult, like you're the problem. But that's only because they benefited from your silence. They liked it when you didn't push back. They liked it when you prioritized their feelings over your own. They liked it when they could control you. And when you take that power back, it disrupts the dynamic they were comfortable with. But you can't live your life trying to please people who only like you when you're submissive to their will. You can't shrink yourself just to make others comfortable. You have to be okay with the fact that not everyone will like the stronger version of you. Not everyone will support you when you start enforcing boundaries. Not everyone will be happy when you begin to prioritize yourself. And that's okay. The right people will respect you. The right people will understand. The right people will stand by you, not because they can control you, but because they truly value who you are. The moment you start standing firm in who you are, you'll begin to notice a shift. You'll stop feeling like you have to apologize for taking up space. You'll stop doubting yourself when you know you're right. You'll stop second-guessing whether you deserve to be heard. You will walk with more confidence, more clarity, and more peace because you will no longer be carrying the weight of trying to make everyone else comfortable at your own expense. There is power in knowing your worth. There is strength in standing in your truth. There is freedom in refusing to be controlled by the expectations of others. And when you decide that you will no longer silence yourself just to avoid conflict, that's when you step into the life you were truly meant to live. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be harsh. You just have to be firm. You have to be unwavering in your convictions. You have to trust that your feelings and opinions are valid. And most importantly, you have to believe that you deserve to be heard. When you start living this way, you'll notice that the wrong people start to fade away and the right people start to show up. The relationships that were built on control and manipulation will start to break apart. And the relationships that are built on mutual respect and understanding will begin to grow stronger. The stress that came from constantly suppressing your feelings will start to disappear, and a sense of peace will take its place. You have a voice. You have the right to stand your ground. And the moment you start doing that, everything changes for the better. Life has a way of placing us in situations where we feel obligated to go along with what everyone else wants. From a young age, we're taught to be accommodating, to say yes, to avoid causing problems. We're told that it's easier to just go with the flow, to keep the peace, and to be agreeable. And while cooperation and compromise are important in certain areas of life, there comes a point when always saying yes becomes a problem. When you find yourself constantly agreeing to things that go against what you truly want or need, you begin to lose a sense of who you are. At first, it might not seem like a big deal. You say yes when a friend asks for a favor, even though you're exhausted. You say yes when your boss asks you to take on extra work, even though you're already overwhelmed. You say yes to family members who expect you to drop everything for them, even when it's inconvenient for you. You say yes to invitations, commitments, and responsibilities that you don't have the energy for, simply because you don't want to disappoint anyone. But over time, these small compromises add up. You start to realize that you're always putting yourself last. You notice that your schedule is filled with things you never really wanted to do in the first place. You begin to feel drained, stretched thin, and even resentful because your life is no longer your own. It belongs to everyone else. The truth is, you don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to be available to everyone at all times. You don't have to carry the weight of other people's expectations on your shoulders. It's okay to prioritize yourself. It's okay to recognize when something doesn't serve you and walk away from it. It's okay to decline requests that will take away from your peace, your goals, or your well-being. Many people struggle with saying no because they fear how others will react. They don't want to seem rude, ungrateful, or selfish. They worry that people will be upset, disappointed, or even angry if they refuse to comply. But here's what you have to understand. People who genuinely care about you will respect your decision even if they don't like it. The ones who get upset are often the ones who are benefiting from your inability to say no. When you start setting boundaries, you'll notice that some people don't take it well. They might try to guilt you, manipulate you, or pressure you into changing your mind. They'll say things like, "But you've always done this for me," or "I thought you cared about me." They'll act as if your refusal is a personal attack. But their reaction is not your responsibility. You are not obligated to sacrifice your own well-being just to keep others happy. It's not easy at first. If you've spent your whole life saying yes, the first time you say no will feel uncomfortable. You might second guess yourself. You might feel guilty, but the more you do it, the more you'll realize how freeing it is. You'll start to see that your time is valuable. Your energy is precious. Your life is worth more than constantly living in service to everyone else's desires. When you learn to say no, something incredible happens. You make room for the things that truly matter. You free up space in your life for the opportunities, relationships, and experiences that bring you joy. Instead of feeling obligated, you start making choices based on what aligns with your purpose. Instead of saying yes out of guilt, you say yes because you genuinely want to. Instead of feeling exhausted from doing things that drain you, you feel energized by investing in things that fulfill you. People might not understand your decision at first, and that's okay. You don't need their approval to do what's best for you. The people who truly love and respect you will support your boundaries. They will adjust to the new version of you that no longer operates out of obligation but out of intention. And those who can't handle it, they were never really there for you. They were there for what you could do for them. Saying no is not about being difficult or unkind. It's about recognizing that you have the right to choose how you spend your time, where you invest your energy, and what you allow into your life. It's about understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly giving to everyone else, you will eventually run out of energy, motivation, and passion for your own dreams. One of the greatest forms of self-respect is knowing when to say no. It's knowing that you don't have to explain yourself or justify your decisions. You don't have to apologize for prioritizing yourself. You don't have to feel bad for protecting your peace. The more you practice this, the stronger you become. You start to see that your value isn't determined by how much you do for others, it's determined by who you are. This is the year to take back control of your life. This is the time to stop letting fear of disappointing others keep you trapped in a cycle of overcommitment and exhaustion. This is your moment to start making choices that align with your happiness, your goals, and your well-being. The people who belong in your life will respect your choices, and the ones who don't, let them go. You were not put on this earth to be at the mercy of everyone else's demands. You were not meant to spend your life pleasing others at the expense of your own joy. You deserve to have a life that feels good to you, not just one that looks good to everyone else. And that starts with knowing that it's okay to say no. There is a moment in life when you have to recognize your own worth and stop allowing yourself to be treated in ways that do not reflect your value. Too often, people settle for less than they deserve because they don't want to cause conflict, they don't want to lose relationships, or they believe that accepting mistreatment is just part of life. But the truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you accept, and what you tolerate. If you constantly let others disrespect you, they will continue to do so. If you keep making excuses for people who take advantage of you, they will never change. If you allow people to walk all over you, they will keep stepping on you without hesitation. And the longer you tolerate this behavior, the harder it becomes to break free from it. Many people fall into this pattern without even realizing it. It starts small. Someone dismisses your feelings, and instead of addressing it, you brush it off. A friend takes advantage of your kindness, and instead of setting boundaries, you let it slide. A boss undervalues your contributions, and instead of speaking up, you stay silent. Over time, these small moments add up, and before you know it, you've created a life where people believe they can treat you however they want. But there comes a point when you have to say, enough is enough. You have to decide that your time, your energy, and your peace are too valuable to be wasted on people who do not respect you. You have to realize that you don't have to accept poor treatment just because you're afraid of losing people. Sometimes losing people is the best thing that can happen to you because the wrong people will drain you, use you, and hold you back from stepping into the life you were meant to live. One of the main reasons people continue to accept mistreatment is because they fear being alone. They convince themselves that something is better than nothing, that it's easier to put up with mistreatment than to walk away. But that mindset keeps you trapped. It keeps you stuck in unhealthy relationships, in toxic environments, and in situations that chip away at your confidence and self-worth. The truth is, it's better to be alone than to be surrounded by people who don't appreciate you. It's better to have peace in solitude than chaos in bad company. It's better to stand firm in your worth than to settle for relationships that make you question it. When you start refusing to accept poor treatment, you will notice a shift in your life. Some people will be upset because they were comfortable taking advantage of you. They like the version of you who never said anything, who always put up with their nonsense, who always gave without asking for anything in return. But you don't owe them that version of yourself. You don't have to keep playing the role of the person who tolerates everything just to keep the peace. It's time to stand up for yourself. It's time to stop ignoring the red flags. It's time to stop giving second, third, and fourth chances to people who have already shown you who they are. It's time to stop settling for less than what you deserve. This isn't about becoming bitter or holding grudges. It's about recognizing that you have value and you don't have to prove it to anyone. The right people will see it without you having to convince them. When you start standing up for yourself, some people will try to make you feel guilty. They will say you're being unreasonable, that you're too sensitive, or that you're overreacting. But that's just their way of trying to keep you in the position where they can continue to benefit from your silence. Don't let that guilt trip work. You are not responsible for how others react to your self-respect. If they get upset because you won't tolerate their mistreatment anymore, that's their problem, not yours. It's time to set new standards for how you allow people to treat you. If someone disrespects you, address it. If they continue, walk away. If someone takes advantage of your kindness, create distance. If they refuse to respect your boundaries, remove them from your life. This is not about being harsh. It's about protecting your heart, your mind, and your spirit. Some people will say, "You've changed." And they're right. You have changed. You've grown. You've learned that being kind does not mean being a doormat. You've realized that your value is not determined by how much you endure. You've come to understand that your worth is not based on how much you can give to people who only take. This is the moment to step into your strength. This is the time to raise your standards. This is your season to stop accepting anything that does not align with your value. The more you stand firm in your worth, the more you will attract people who respect it. The more you refuse to settle, the more you will open doors to opportunities and relationships that uplift you instead of drain you. You don't have to fight for a seat at a table where you're not valued. You don't have to beg for respect from people who refuse to give it. You don't have to keep proving yourself to those who refuse to see your worth. Walk away from anything that diminishes you. Move forward with confidence, knowing that you deserve the best and you won't accept anything less. There comes a point in life where you have to stop giving endless chances to people who do not value you. Too often, people continue to invest their time, energy, and emotions into relationships, friendships, and situations that do nothing but drain them. They hold on to people who have already shown their true colors, hoping that things will change, believing that if they just give a little more, if they just try a little harder, things will be different. But the truth is, there comes a time when you have to accept that some people are not meant to stay in your life. It is human nature to want to see the best in others. You may think that if you just continue being kind, if you just keep forgiving, if you just keep understanding, people will eventually recognize your value and start treating you the way you deserve. But some people will never appreciate you, no matter how much you do for them. Some people will never respect you, no matter how much you sacrifice for them. And the longer you allow them to take advantage of you, the more they will assume that it is okay to continue. There are people in your life who are only there because you allow them to be. They are not adding anything to your journey. They are not supporting you, uplifting you, or contributing to your growth. They are simply benefiting from the fact that you continue to tolerate their behavior. They know that no matter how many times they let you down, you will still be there. No matter how many times they disrespect you, you will still welcome them back. No matter how many times they take advantage of you, you will still offer them your kindness. But the hard truth is this: some people do not deserve access to you. Some people do not deserve another chance. Some people do not deserve the place in your life that they currently hold. And the longer you allow them to stay, the longer they will keep robbing you of your peace, your happiness, and your self-respect. It is not your job to keep tolerating mistreatment just because you care. It is not your responsibility to keep giving chances to people who do not appreciate them. You are not required to keep allowing the same people to hurt you just because you have history with them. You have to start recognizing when it is time to let go. When someone has shown you time and time again that they are not willing to change, believe them. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, manipulates you, or takes advantage of you, believe them. Stop making excuses for people who do not make an effort to do better. Stop giving your energy to people who only drain you. Stop fighting for relationships that you are the only one trying to maintain. Letting go is not easy, but it is necessary. You may feel guilty at first. You may feel like you are being harsh or unforgiving, but what you are really doing is choosing yourself. You are choosing to prioritize your well-being over relationships that no longer serve you. You are choosing to protect your peace instead of constantly putting up with situations that bring you stress. You are choosing to value yourself enough to walk away from anything and anyone that does not treat you the way you deserve. Some people will not understand your decision. They will say that you have changed. They will try to guilt you into letting them stay in your life. They will act as if you are wrong for setting boundaries. But you do not owe them an explanation. You do not have to justify why you are choosing to remove yourself from unhealthy situations. The people who truly care about you will respect your decision, and the ones who don't were never meant to stay. When you finally start letting go of the people who have been holding you back, you will feel lighter. You will feel a weight lifted off your shoulders. You will realize how much energy you were wasting on trying to fix things that were never meant to be fixed. You will begin to see that life is too short to keep giving your time to people who do not value it. The right people will not require you to beg for their respect. The right people will not take advantage of your kindness. The right people will not need endless chances because they will make an effort to do better the first time. And when you finally clear out the wrong people from your life, you make space for the right ones to come in. This is your time to take control of who you allow in your life. This is your moment to stop tolerating mistreatment, to stop making excuses for those who do not deserve your kindness, to stop allowing people to treat you in ways that do not align with your worth. You deserve better, and the only way to receive better is to stop accepting less. Letting go is not about anger, revenge, or proving a point. It is about choosing peace over chaos. It is about choosing growth over stagnation. It is about choosing yourself. And when you do, you will find that life becomes so much more fulfilling, so much more joyful, so much more peaceful. You have spent enough time giving chances to people who did not deserve them. You have spent enough time holding on to relationships that were only draining you. You have spent enough time settling for less than what you deserve. Now is the time to let go, move forward, and create the life that truly reflects your worth. Life is too short to keep living for everyone else while neglecting yourself. It is too precious to waste on people who do not respect your kindness, your time, or your energy. This is the year to stop bending over backward to please those who only take advantage of you. This is the season to break free from the habit of putting yourself last, from the fear of disappointing others, and from the cycle of tolerating what does not serve you. You were not created to be a doormat. You were not meant to constantly give without receiving, to always say yes when your heart says no, or to settle for relationships that drain you instead of uplift you. You have the right to set boundaries, to prioritize your well-being, and to demand the respect that you deserve. Yes, some people will be upset when you start standing up for yourself. Some may call you selfish, difficult, or unkind, but that is only because they benefited from your silence, your constant availability, and your inability to say no. Let them be upset. Let them talk. You are not responsible for their feelings. You are responsible for protecting your own peace. This is your time to step into a new level of confidence, to walk boldly in your worth, to stop explaining yourself to those who refuse to understand, to let go of relationships that only bring stress and disappointment, to choose quality over quantity when it comes to the people in your life. When you stop being too nice to the wrong people, you make space for the right ones. You create room for genuine relationships, for opportunities that align with your purpose, and for a life filled with joy instead of exhaustion. The people who truly love and respect you will celebrate your growth. They will honor your boundaries. They will appreciate your kindness without expecting you to sacrifice yourself for them. You have spent enough time carrying the weight of other people's expectations. Now it is time to start living for yourself. Walk forward with strength, confidence, and an unshakable belief in your own worth. Because when you do, you will see that life is so much richer, so much freer, and so much more fulfilling when you stop allowing the world to take advantage of your goodness. This is your year to step into your power. This is your season to put yourself first. And this is your moment to stop being too nice and start living with boldness, courage, and conviction.